Prepare for war, says Pete Hegseth. War with who? China? Maybe we should deal with Putin first.
It is very odd. The entire rhetoric of this administration, one of the reasons that they have imposed tariffs on different metals, whether it's aluminum or steel, copper, is because they claim, and this is what they've done months ago. They claim that this is because America needs to be ready for a war. But to your question, war against who? Who are we fighting? The United States hasn't been in an active conflict zone. We pulled out in Afghanistan of 2021. We pulled out of Iraq in 2011. It's been a long time since America has been at war, and it's very clear that America does not want to get into war. It's very unpopular anytime people talk about deploying U.S. troops into other situations. Yeah. So somehow the Trump administration is getting away with saying we are getting ready for war, at the same time saying we're not deploying our troops. Well, what are you talking about at the same time? We also know that they are very happy using military munitions against objects that cannot defend themselves. These boats in the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico that they keep shooting down without any kind of basic law of the seas or military intervention laws. What they're doing is basically unlawful by shooting people without identifying who they are. Maybe there are some refugees on the. We have no idea who they're shooting, but they're summarily killing people without the ability to, who have absolutely no ability to respond. In contrast to states like Russia, who are, they are flying over NATO countries. Why are we not doing the same thing we're doing with the boats, with Russian boats? We know that there are tankers with the possibility of deploying drones. This is something that the United States military could easily interdict, but yet we're not doing that. So it's clear that there's a dividing line of what they're interested in doing.
Mm-hmm. I have one theory, and I want to tell you about it. Could Putin be provoking NATO on China's orders? So Trump got angry at Putin and started being tougher with him. All because Beijing told Putin to act that way. If that's true?
I think the thing with our enemies, we know they work together. We know that China, Russia, North Korea, Iran, to a lesser extent, other rogue states work together. But it is not the same as a military alliance like NATO or the West, meaning that they are ready to accept help from each other, but they will never defend each other. So we know that China would sell Russia out and not do anything for Russia's defense if Russia were invaded. We saw in Iran, just at the beginning of this year, Russia and Iran signed a defense agreement. They did nothing when Iran was bombed. So we know that they have some kind of relationship, but it is not the same kind of relationship as NATO or any Western alliance, because they're very suspicious of each other and not very trustworthy in general. So as far as what China wants from Russia and the West, they are very happy with Russia continuing this war with Ukraine specifically. But as far as what happens with NATO, China could ask for that, but Russia is also comfortable with doing that. They've been doing that for 2 decades. They've been poisoning people. Cyber attacks in Estonia beginning in the early 2000s. This is not something new. I was in Lithuania when I was in 2015, and I was in the parliament building in Lithuania while it came under a cyber attack where nobody could use their phones because of the Russians. This is not something new. They have done this continuously. The problem is that we, as the West, have not been countering it, and we have not been countering with offensive operations on cyber. We have not been doing it by escorting planes out. We just had an incident over Alaska in the last 2 weeks where finally American planes came and escorted Russian planes away from American territorial skies. But that's not happening in Europe, and that's a problem.
Mm-hmm. And one more topic. I talk about shutdown. Is it one of the main topics in the US, and how much is it distracting from Russia's war against Ukraine?
It is the only topic. It is the main topic.
I have one more topic. Epstein.
It's not as high as Epstein. If you watch the news in the United States, that'll be the top topic. We had 6 mass shootings this weekend. 6. Over 4 states. and it was barely covered as much as the shutdown. We did not cover what was happening in Ukraine as much as we have. The shutdown is dominating everything because American domestic politics. It is tied in with what people's health insurance will be beginning this month or at the end of October into November, and then even more at the beginning of the year. It is tied with people's salaries for any kind of federal employment. Mail carriers, we have an enormous amount of people employed by the mail service, space service, etc. A lot of people will be without employment. And right now, we are almost assured 100% that there will be a shutdown beginning. It is the 30th, so if there's no deal by tonight, and there will be no deal, government shutdown begins tomorrow, and then it is very likely that this continues for a minimum of through the weekend, and then but because both the Senate and the House of Representatives have pledged not to come back until next week. So we will see if maybe next week, when they come back, they can come to a short-term deal that extends the budget. But in the meantime, we're going to have a shutdown. And if that's the case, we'll see which political negotiator says, well, we really have to make that deal. Because once we get into a shutdown, then it seems like the negotiations can start all over again.
Mm-hmm. Could you tell more about the last topic, what you mentioned? If I'm right to hear you, you talk about a mass shooting.
Yes, we had 6 mass shootings just over the weekend. So one was a individual who drove his car into a church. Then that car had some improvised bombs in it, but he ended up coming out of the car and shooting people within the church. Then the church caught fire. We still don't know to this day how many people are identified as dead in the church. There are many people still not found who were claimed to go to that church. There were shopping centers, individual homes who were shot up by people. This, unfortunately, has become so regular in this country that one mass shooting on the news will be interrupted by another one. It's not, it used to be that a mass shooting was so irregular that it would be the whole news for a day or two or even a week. But since the United States is so entrenched in political infighting, and we haven't been able to do anything to address this as a nation, that it's unfortunately becoming more and more prevalent.
Mm-hmm. Sad to hear it. But I won't talk about this topic. I mean, Epstein.
Yeah.
There's a new scandal, new names, and even Elon Musk has been
Yes.
mentioned.
We know, we know at a certain level there are people who are so wealthy that they feel that no laws can touch them, not least of which our enemy. And we know that Elon Musk's father likes to visit Russia as well. So we know that there are certain levels of people who feel that the law doesn't apply to them. The Epstein scandal is not leaving. President Trump thought he could use that scandal to attack the current government back in 2024, saying that the Democrats are hiding everything. But once he came back as president at the beginning of this year, he's shown no interest in letting the public know what exactly Epstein was tried for. It seems, if anything, he's trying to quiet the people who only know, like Ghislaine Maxwell, who is the girlfriend and assistant of Epstein, who helped him lure all these women to be sexually trafficked.
Mm-hmm.
So that's somebody that Trump is actually actively trying to help by giving her less of a prison sentence. And in the end, though, more documents are coming out. In fact, we are going to have, when Congress comes back next week, there is a discharge petition, which is a way that if you get enough signatures on a petition within Congress, then nobody can block it. Like, it has to come up for a vote. And so we have crossed how many people have already signed that no matter what the Republicans do, because President Trump doesn't want this to be voted on, no matter what they do, they have attained enough signatures. So we should see next week, if Congress comes back, if there's no shutdown,
Mm-hmm.
if there's no shutdown and they go back into voting, that's something that they could do. But thankfully for Trump, the shutdown can shut this down, and there will not be a vote until the shutdown is over.
Mm-hmm. And one more curious story. Jimmy Kimmel is back. Is that another hit against Trump?
I think it demonstrates that it was mostly political pressure that forced the companies that air Jimmy Kimmel through their affiliates. It was political pressure from the White House that forced them to take it off, because I've been involved in numerous campaigns to get Tucker Carlson removed from networks. This is a long-term thing. Networks or television channels don't just take people off. It takes a long time to convince them that they're going to lose money, because people won't they will boycott your advertisers. They will harass your advertisers. But within 24 to 48 hours, Jimmy Kimmel was removed from. Actually, within 24 hours, he was removed because of a controversy that started, where people were blaming him for being insensitive to the death of Charlie Kirk. What's more obvious is that the public pressure came after that, where people were canceling their subscriptions to Disney, wanting to boycott Disney because they own the corporation that airs Jimmy Kimmel. So there was more ground up support for Jimmy Kimmel than there was ground up support to cancel Jimmy Kimmel. And now I think this gets into the weeds of broadcasting, but since Disney is a publicly owned corporation, there are members of the stockholders board of Disney who want an explanation exactly what was discussed by the CEO. Did the political pressure come all the way from the top? And if that's the case, they need to disclose any of those documents to the shareholders, or else they might force a vote of no confidence. So this is massive repercussions in the business world, less so than what actually happened to Jimmy Kimmel, who was back on the air with massive ratings, as he was the #1 searched show on television before this. And simply whatever President Trump said, that he was not popular, had no ratings, just wasn't true.
Andriy, thank you so much. That was interesting. I was glad to see you.
Thank you. And I can't wait for our next conversation.
Yeah.